Hello YouTube, this is Cloud9 Nerd. Welcome to Card Choices, the video series where we can discuss my current card choices for the meta. If there are a few cards that you wish to discuss, or if I make any changes, I will have an update video, and this way we can proceed to become better players. So without further ado, here we go, Zing spells. Now the first spell card I want to talk about is Mystical Space Typhoon. I feel like there's not much I need to say about this. This is almost mandatory right now to stop Vanity's Emptiness mainly. That's the card. It makes playing Yang Zings really hard. When Vanity's is up, nothing floats. Your opponent can attack into you freely, and you're just in a really bad spot. So I feel like you have to play three of, not necessarily just to be blind and misting. I don't like doing that at all, but just for vanities. The next card I want to talk about is Yang Zing Path. Now this is an interesting card. Before Jaito came out, a lot of players were running only two of. And I disagreed with that, but to my surprise, after Jaito came out, some players only run two of these. And I, for the life of me, cannot figure out why. I love opening a Yang Zing Path. Jaito is searchable, so by turn 2, this card will resolve, especially if you have other things to pitch for Jaito. And worst comes to worst, you could always pitch this for Jaito's effect, because Jaito lets you pitch any Yang Zing card. And even after you pitch it, you still have two paths you can resolve in your deck. So I do not know why players do not run three of these. This card is amazing. The next card I want to talk about is Chalice. I've been bumping this up and down between this and Breakthrough Skills just for effect negation. I'm starting to like Chalice a little bit more just because it can negate Shaddoll stuff in the damage step, and because it lets your Yang Zing monsters, run over slightly bigger threats. Swanee becomes, 2300, and that could take out a few things. It could survive against the Clee normal summon with a sacrifice, and if you want it to survive. So I mean, for now I've been playing it 2. I'm gonna try bumping it up to 3 and taking my Breakthrough Skills to 1, but that's neither here nor there. Right now I'm at 2, and I like it at 2. I don't see it too often in my opening hand, but I do get these when I need them. So the next card I want to talk about is Lance. This is a card that I've just started testing actually these past couple of weeks, just because my Swanees and my Tautais are falling into a lot of traps, and there's times where you need them to hit the higher level synchros. So I mean, having them survive is really, really important. And I like this card because, like I mentioned before, my MSTs are just for vanities, so I'm not actually MSTing into a lot of back row. And it's really hard if you face a Clifford player that runs extensive back row, or the Burning Abyss player, wing blasting your stuff all the time. And Lance just ensures that your stuff stays on board and you get your plays going. So Lance is something that I'm currently testing 1 of. I might bump it to 2. Not sure what I'm going to do between this, Chalice, and Breakthrough. But it's just something I've been testing out. And, losing the 800 attack against your opponent is amazing. Because basically, Tautai can run over a 3000 monster. Your opponent, for whatever reason, leaves a BLS, and you can bring out a Tautai. This will kill that BLS, and your Tautai floats. So that's pretty good, damage step. Being able to hit your opponent's monsters just means you're going to be able to run over more things. The next card I want to talk about is Night Beam. This is not a card that I like. I've seen it had some success in Cleese, and I wanted to test it out because back row is a problem for this deck. But it's something I don't really like, because if you don't hit that crucial card and you don't have an MST for the vanities or the skill drain or whatever could be a threat at that moment, this did nothing to advance your game state, and you're still stuck in a bad situation. So I'm not a big fan of this card. I think I like Lance over this, but I'm going to keep trying it out. Maybe if I bump it up to 2 or 3, maybe cut an MST. We'll see what happens, but for now I am not liking this at all. Now, the next 2 cards I want to talk about are cards that I've been going back and forth between, and that's Upstart and Dualities. This deck needs a little extra help getting to see through most of your deck. A lot of times you're going to pitch 2 cards with Tautai, Jaito, and you end up running out of your hand pretty quick. Now, each of these cards, in my opinion, has their own merits. Pot Duality is great when you're going second and lets you dig for further resources, your side deck cards, and that kind of stuff. But I really, really like Upstart going first. If you open with this, you Upstart into a monster or anything that you could pitch for Jaito, it's great. You could still special summon, whereas Pot of Duality hinders that play, And half the time, if I go second and I open up with a Duality and a Jaito, I'm mixed because I want the Jaiso to go off, but I want to dig for my side deck cards. So I'm very iffy. But I've been doing 2 dualities, 3 upstarts. Trying 40 card decks, and it's really tough. I'm gonna have to give it up to player preference. Right now, I'm really preferring the 3 upstarts. Giving your opponent 1,000 life isn't that bad. I do run 3 Zing brutalities, as you're gonna see in the trap video. So I have no problem getting in that extra damage. Giving them an extra 1,000 life is not that big of a deal, at least for me. Whereas the poly duality, the hindrance of special summoning does hurt. So I'm favoring the 3 upstarts over the 2 dualities for now. Now the next part, I guess you could say, is quote unquote tech cards. And the first card I want to talk about is Regeki. Not a big fan of Regeki. It is a good help against Cleese, but if you can't answer them that turn that you Regeki, you're screwed, because if they can complete a scale and pendulum everything back, you just Regeki for nothing. Shadal's and Burning Abyss, they all float. So unless you're gonna push for game or something, Regeki is really, really bad. And for that reason, I cut Regeki from my deck. Alright, the next card I want to talk about is Desynchro. Now, the only reason I'm mentioning this card is because I was running it when I went to Anaheim. It's a very, very win more card. Makes your deck a little inconsistent. But when you do open, the Jaito Desynchro combo, you can put up a very nutty board. 2 level 8 Synchros and an extra monster. Or, your Yazi, your Boxy, a spin, pop. It gets really, really crazy, especially if you're running double Tao-Tai like I do. You end up with just 3 huge beaters, and if you could back them up with a Lance or a Chalice, it's amazing. Like, your opponent has a really, really hard time, no matter what they're playing. They have a really, really hard time getting out of that. But I definitely cut these because it's just not consistent, and I am trying to become a more competitive player, and part of that is having a consistent deck. So these are gone, but for locals and stuff, I definitely put these in. It's very, very fun to use these cards. The next card I want to talk about is Dark Hole. This card recently went up to 2 in the last ban list, January 1st ban list. I do like this card. I do run 2 of them over the Regeki, and that's only because Torrential's at 1. You go open up with a pretty bad hand. You can set Yang Zing, Dark Hole, and you get your search off, get your plays going, get your Tao-Tai or whatever it is you need that turn. And you still have another one, to wipe out your opponent's board. Most people aren't playing Dark Holes, but I run 2 of them just because, it's a spell card that lets my searches get off. Now, the next card I want to talk about is Book of Moon. I recently cut this from my deck too, just because it's not doing much of anything. There's no point in booking a Klee monster or a Shadal or a Burning Abyss. It really doesn't do anything for me. Other than stop one play here or there. I rarely book my own monsters. A lot of times my synchros come out immune to spells or traps, so it's not even good to prevent, the Shadal fusion play. So I just completely cut this card out, at least for now. Next we have Mind Control, and this is another card that I cut. It was doing really well back in the days because you needed, it was easy. It was really good to steal an opponent's monster. This was almost like a second normal summon, so you could, raise the levels, so you could get to those higher level synchros like, 9, 10s, and 11s. But I definitely cut this card. Jaito just gives the deck so much speed, and the level 5 Tao-Tai means that you could get those higher levels quicker without relying on your opponent's monsters. So I just completely cut this card. And it, in my opinion, is also inferior to Snatch Steal because the monster you take can't be tributed, or more importantly, can't attack. So, you take your opponent's monster and if you can't synchro with it, you kind of lose next turn if they got it. So Mind Control is out. Now, the last spell card I want to talk about is Soul Charge. As far as I can remember, most Yang players always play this card. I never played this card, but now I've been thinking about playing it. I haven't tested it yet, but it does have its merits. For 1,000 points, you get a Jaito, and that's a synchro monster now. Whereas before that wouldn't happen. You would have to bring out at least 2 monsters to put a synchro on board, pay 2,000 life points just for a synchro. And if it wasn't a monster that was advancing the game state or doing something to the board, you brought out a useless synchro. Whereas now you Soul Charge, get your Jaito, bring out a box, you spin cards, and I mean, to me, 1,000 life points to spin 3 cards is worth it. So I'm definitely going to be test playing this. I definitely recommend running at least one of them. So that's where I'm at right now with the spells. Go ahead and stay tuned. Next episode, I'm going to be talking about the traps. And after I'm done with the traps, I'll have a summary about the whole deck and see where it is competitively. So stay tuned, subscribe, and see you at the next one.